What are we looking at? Okay. Looks it's a little laggy, isn't it? All right. Let's see. All right. We're trying at 1080, 60 frames per second. Let's see how we go. Let's try. I'm not sure that it's working. It's a little jaggy, isn't it? All right. Oh, it comes up as a space in Twitter. Huh, that's cool. General testing staff, reading news, and general hangout. So what happens when I go on there? Let's have a look. Hang on, let me go to a different computer. Hang on. What is this? So it just comes up as a stream. Oh, okay, so it's integrated with Spaces. That's cool. Awesome. Okay. Let's just enjoy this coffee. Let's have a look. Okay. Let me just test a chat. Hope you don't. This is a test. So, it's a slight shadow too, but that's okay. Forget, whatever, who cares? Does it come up in the chats? It doesn't. So it's still not fully integrated. But that is still promising. That is a bit weird looking at yourself. All right. All right. Well, that's interesting. So the chats don't show up on here. But they do show up. Okay, but you can chat in the spaces. Okay, so that's annoying. Well, that's all right. I'm sure that will be fixed. Okay, let's have a look. Now, if I just do that and hand off. Let's try this. So I've got it set up so that there's the two there. And then I can just screen share here. Scroll between computers here. Okay, cool. All right. We're in business. All right, so if I just go through here, let's look at a lot of this will be because I am going to play it back and check sound and various other things. So I'm not necessarily looking to, let's see, is that, I need to, so probably needed it. Let's see. It's a little slow, isn't it? But that's okay. It's going to be. So it's not very smooth, but that's all right. That's not really a deal breaker there. Okay. So let's have a look. So today, let's have a look. Let's just browse the news and see how we go. Let's see how long how long this will go for. Doesn't really have much to talk about at the moment, but where are we? What can we look at? Is there anything interesting? Nothing. What's this one? All right. So Well, that's not really a new view, is it? Techno-feudalism is kind of some... Okay. So if I switch tabs, okay, so I can switch tabs without it coming up. So that's really good. So I'm not going to accidentally dox myself. Okay, so boring. Okay. This is an interesting. I've got to do some more stuff around this. Just kind of lost momentum. I'm just kind of losing. As you can see, it's not like I don't really have a lot to talk about at the moment. It's not a lot of reason to, because no one fucking shows up. Okay. So we're just reading the news and seeing how it works. I think everyone's just got fatigue from this stuff. So that's that Google News stuff that I already know. Uh-oh. What's this thing? Meta's rolled out a new feature that simplifies the conversion process for Amazon sellers. So shoppers in the US can link their Facebook or Instagram accounts to Amazon. Nothing to see here. Enabling them to buy products advertised in their feeds without having to leave the mobile apps. That's... Yikes. Better... Here we go. Read between the lines here. Better targeting and optimization. Meta will now be using information sent from Amazon and stores offering buy with Prime to show consumers ads. Jesus. Consumers with... Fucking... God. Proofread your shit, people. Better conversion rates. Customers will be able to check out more quickly on ads when they connect their account. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, let's bookmark this one for another time. So better ads, creative personalization. That's buzzwords for they're sharing the data with each other. The two biggest data. Oh my goodness me. All right, so this is dystopian. Oi. All right, so let's save that to Notion. So I've got that set up so that I just browse Feedly and then I put it into Notion for later. Oh my God. Okay, so we stumbled on something fun. So how it works, Meta users can now click on ads in Facebook or Instagram, taking them to a shop-like experience within the apps for easy purchases. Using their linked Prime accounts. See, that's the killer. So the linked Prime accounts... Consumers can buy products without entering card details. So you've got to be skeptical about this, because what that means is that there's usually a handshake going on in the background with the data, right? That's the thing you need to be skeptical about. Oh, wow, look, someone wants to promote my channel. No, thanks, go away. So, hang on, give me a sec. Let me just block that chat. Fuck off. Sorry for bothering you. Don't bother people then. Block. Fuck, come on. Add to block list. Bleep, bleep, bleep. Am I just testing my shit? I had a couple of questions about some content you published recently. Yeah, okay. Ask away. I'm just testing my setup, but I'm happy to stick around, so that's fine. I'm just here. I don't recognize you, I'm afraid, but what would you like to ask? The answer is yes, I am, but you can ask. Okay, so... Or you can feel free to email me. So, how it works. Meta users can click on ads in Facebook or Instagram. So I read that bit. The benefits for advertisers. Okay. Hi, I have to look into this further. So, Rami explained this new collaboration could prove to be a significant revenue opportunity for Meta. So basically, have Facebook signed up for an Amazon affiliate account, or this is concerning? Better ad signals. So Meta gets more ads signal from the top e-commerce store on the web and more attributable conversions to increase client investment, blah, blah, blah. increased transaction fees, yes. Amazon gets more transaction fees driven directly from the greatest discovery ads engine. This is such a load of wank. Okay. Okay, trigonometry, folks. I'm an a-hole. Okay. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. So obviously I need to be mindful. If this is a conversation you prefer to have offline, then that's fine with me too. Obviously, I'm not going to say, I don't engage in sort of the gossip stuff. I'll say stuff like, generally, but so you mentioned dark funding. I did. It's actually been the focus of my channel. So I am paying attention. So I'll just let you finish your question and then I'll answer it if I can. Okay. So, all right. So you also get a bit of an insight into how I explore news, right? So I have a lot of feeds, right? So I break my feeds into some pretty, so I've got advertising, daily news, foreign affairs, lunatics, which has all of the sort of Breitbart, because if you don't put them in their own thing, they just kind of, like everything, the right wingers wreck everything, right? I have actually, so when I'm talking about dark funding, I have elaborated on it in quite a lot of detail in previous videos. It's just that those are now hidden. So those are going into a paywall at some point. But I'm not sure what you mean. Like that, when you say, would I mind elaborating? I've spent 4 years talking about it. So you'd need to be more specific because I've talked about like these funnels all the time, a lot. So I'm not really sure. That's a big question. So I am producing some stuff around it. One of my hesitations has been about, because effectively when you talk about that stuff, you're also building a how-to manual for how to fuck up platforms. So there's an ethical problem with that, right? So that's always been my dilemma is that it's obvious what they're doing, but you're building a playbook and you're giving people who hadn't thought of that effectively giving them a manual on how to do it. Now, I have written, I've got quite a lot on it actually, but a lot of that stuff is paywalled. So when you say, would you mind elaborating? I'm not really, it's not clear what you mean because you can elaborate on all of it a lot. So, yeah. So, you can buy likes, you can use troll farms, you can use PR agencies, you can even use a standard digital agency that's got no real ethical, not even lack of ethics, but just not very clever, right? So, a lot of people just don't have ethics. They think that getting clicks and views and whipping people into a frenzy is perfectly fine as long as they make money. Like it's not necessarily, when I talk about dark funding, makes it sound a lot more sinister than it is. It's actually just sort of how capitalism, it's how all of the incentives work, which is, you don't have guardrails in place for these things. People are going to exploit those algorithms. They're going to exploit those things. So it's not even necessarily about dark funding. It's just, that's a nice fancy little word for it, but it really is just, paid content, paid, earned, owned. In marketing, you have paid, you have earned, you have owned. And, that's just, yeah, it's not clear. So when you say, can you elaborate? It's the answer is yes, I can if I give you 10 years worth of work in one answer. Does that make sense? Yeah, I'm not dodging the question. It's just that I need a more specific question. So anyway, okay. So let's have a look. What have we got here? Religious vilification law. Okay, so what publication are we looking at here? So I use Feedly, right? This is how I get through news. Okay. That's the Today feed, so it's got that mix. Okay, so usually I hang out in the tech tab. Mostly because, but usually, I mean, with a combination of, because Feedly actually has really good AI as well, a good AI recommendation, so that it will show you sort of, different stories from different publications that are related. So if Breitbart and Daily Wire and all that stuff are popping off excuse me, if they're popping off over certain things, usually it'll show that the Daily Wire have also been covering it, so it might be of interest because it's like, you know, something that usually they're freaking out about, like the Bill Burr thing, right? That's been funny today, freaking out about Bill Burr. So, all right, so where are we? This again, you just got to learn to filter it. So there's stuff that I'm interested in and stuff that I'm just not, and I think you go, oh yeah, what's this? So WHO Director General complains about online conspiracy theories. I mean, who cares? Okay, that's what they're going to do. You just, you know, you sit there and you try to find stuff that might be interesting. And this is, I think this is the benefit of staying in lane, which is that you know what you're looking for, right? I see all of this stuff, and it's actually really interesting because I had this conversation with somebody on Twitter, X, not so long ago, and they said, "Oh, can you cover Israel, Gaza, and you know that sort of stuff?" And I was like, "Well, no, not really, because it's not really my area." And I think that if you have a policy of just not covering something you don't, I think there's just too many people with opinions that they really shouldn't be having opinions on, and they're not in a position to have an opinion because they don't know what they're talking about. And it's like, well, okay, you can, like, I just think there's too many opinions and there's too many people making too much money from bad opinions. And so I do try to like lead by example and model certain things and stick to the things that I know a lot about, right? Which is, you know, marketing funnels and online stuff and platform manipulation and, you know, how the culture wars feeds into that. Like, you know, you can't know all things, and I prefer to just know the thing that I know and focus on that. But, you know, I'm not going to sit here and have a take on Israel and Gaza because I don't know. I don't know the facts. I know enough. I know more than your average person, but I think it's inherently narcissistic to think that the world wants to hear your opinion on literally everything. Okay. I think it is inherently narcissistic to do that. And I try to not do that. Right. So I'm in the gaming and tech space. What happened lately is the people I follow in gaming are posting Gaza stuff, and then Twitter or X floods me with Gaza. Yeah. Okay. So welcome. Yes, absolutely. So that is something that you will notice is, you know, like everyone has, I just prefer to stay. And it's not that I don't have opinions and thoughts. I mean, I have, you know, honestly, I have more, more knowledge in an area. Like I literally, as I'm doing this, I'm doing international law. Like I was literally, while this went down, talking that one of the assignments that I had was to talk about statelessness and the, you know, international law and like how that works and all that sort of stuff. So I probably would argue that I'm more informed than your average bear on a lot of things, but even I don't feel like I know enough to be able to open my mouth, and that I think is a problem. The problem is that it's going to exist no matter what. You can't stop people. Like I've said before, it's not illegal to be stupid on the internet. It's not illegal to be wrong on the internet. And you can't really, there's not really much that you can do about it, but you do need to make sure that you model certain behavior and you don't just show up with opinions on things that you don't know anything about. And I think that you can just model certain behavior for others and go, no, you know what? I don't know anything about this. It's okay to not know anything about it. It's okay to not have an opinion on it. I mean, from what I see with my Twitter feed, which is fairly broad. I do try to keep it as broad as possible. But I, you know, obviously I don't like certain, you know, like people have lost their minds. So I do try to like limit that. But the way that I do things is that I completely lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. So how my feed looks is that I see two parallel narratives, both of which are partially true. And a lot of it is, well, it's a matter of perspective and bias. Like it's very clear that those narratives, like, is it, you know, things can both be true at once. And that's what ultimately what conflict is about is, you know, a fight over reality and a fight over, I don't trust anybody who claims to, you know, in something like as complex as war or as awful as war, to have all of the answers on everything, especially if they have not dedicated their life to studying it. Now, I'll follow Norm Finkelstein, who's a scholar in that stuff, and he's been smashing it lately. I'll follow, various other experts and scholars and people who make it their whole life to talk about this one thing. And I think that deferring to that, there's nothing wrong with deferring to experts. As much as COVID has rotted the brains of everybody, and as much as I'm an advocate for questioning authority, of course I'm question authority at all times, but don't dismiss authority just because it's authority either. I mean, that's where you get into that sort of reactive, childish stuff. And, there are people that know stuff. So anyway, that's just how, that was just one example where someone's like, well, do you want to do a stream on Gaza? And I said, well, no. First of all, most of my position and analysis is fairly, I've got nothing to add to it. So one of the things that I do is I go, well, do I have anything to add to it? Am I going to make this better or worse or make people think differently? Does it have any value? Am I going to actually add anything to the discussion? No. Well, most of my views are fairly pragmatic and fairly obvious, which is genocide is bad. I align with the international community on on these issues. I defer to things like the UN and the UN position. It's like, well, maybe you should have less opinions on things is what I'm trying to say. That's just, I think people should just have fewer opinions in general and stick to things that they actually know something about. And that's, I think that's just a good rule of thumb in general, good policy to have. So anyway, I don't know if that, anyway, so I'm just showing you how I sort of consume the news. So a lot of this stuff is like, okay, well, when I'm scrolling, it's like, well, where can I actually add something? What have I got to add? Okay. I don't just talk, as much as people would probably disagree. I don't just talk for the sake of talking. I do try to put the work in and make sure that I have something to say, might not do it very well, but I do try to make sure that I've actually got something to say. I think it's kind of the opposite of a reaction in the sense that it's like, well, it's easy to just react and read stuff and go, oh, yeah, this is what I think about this thing. But I actually prefer to go away, give things a little bit more time. And if I don't know, then, I've gone through that. I think I went through this stuff when I first started doing YouTube, is trying to chase that. And, it was partially an experiment because I got dragged into this stuff. But I think that there was I think I got caught a few times where I was taking some things on face value and people were looking to me for an opinion, and I got caught not doing my due diligence with it and checking before reacting to stuff. And I think that is a bigger problem that we've got, which is just making sure that we pause for a minute. If you don't know, don't repeat stuff you don't know. Like no one's perfect. We're all going to make jokes or, have a one-liner and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, I do try not to be a reacting person. I try. I think there's enough of those. And I think that you've got, like nobody knows everything, and you should never look to a content creator for answers on everything either. I think that's, like I watch a lot of different ones. I don't watch, Twitch streams in the whole because I can't, but what I do watch is clips from every one of them to make sure that I can distill and see where everyone's at. That keeps me on the straight and narrow as much as possible. Now, I don't watch any of the far right content. I've just gotten sick of it. They pretty much behave predictably these days. It's just, pretending they're arguing with shit they made up that didn't happen, or it's largely cherry picked. And it's, this culture war stuff, a lot of it is just selective information, just trying to, get clicks and stuff. So I just ignore that stuff. So anyway, I just kind of filter that out now, mostly because I've seen it like so many times. I'm like Jimmy in South Park with the ad. I just see sponsored content everywhere. So I'm, and again, I'm not a journalist. I don't claim to be anything other than somebody who knows about tech and stuff and platform stuff and, so yeah, I just sit here and I go, okay, is there anything interesting here? BBC News Tech. So you'll see that my sources are quite diverse. This is an interesting one too, the Fortnite Google case, which I've been looking at. I'm a little bit behind on my feeds, as you can see. So the WeWork thing is interesting, but I don't have anything to say. So this one's interesting. So Meta requires political advertisers to mark when deepfakes used. And so what I'll do usually is so this is why Feedly is good, because it actually does show like, so if you click on a story and show interest, okay, I also use ground news. Ground news is okay, but again, it's dominated by America. But what I'll do is I will just go, oh yeah, okay. So New York Times is following it, is posting it, BBC is following it. You know, is this something that might be interesting? So I'll go to the full thing. So I'll share this instead. And then I'll look at it and I'll go, okay, is that worth it? Oh, fuck off. No. And then I will put it in here for Notion later on, and I'll go, okay, references captured. And I'll just capture it and I'll see if there's anything that I want to do later on. So that's my kind of my workflow there. Did that come up when I do that? Hang on, let me show the screen. Oh yeah, it does. Okay. So I just save that to Notion. Okay, and then I go back. So if I want to read it later, I go back and then so we'll go back to that. This is what I'm actually testing, is this workflow where how quickly I can share screens and stuff. So this is actually really useful. So let's have a look. So I like that it shows that I'm live. 0 viewers, that's funny. Typical, that's funny. Okay. Interesting. Okay, that's cool. So I'm just having a quick look at what we do. Okay, so let's go back to this. So I look at that. I go, okay, I might want to look at that later on. So I've got Notion. I use Notion to store absolutely everything. Okay, so basically what that process does is it clips the article for later on as an idea or a reference or a snippet or something that I want to look into further, and that will put it into Notion. And I use some of the AI features in Notion to sort of generate bullet points or that sort of stuff, fact check some of the article for me, do some of the heavy lifting, and then I'll go in and if I want to actually look at like doing some content around it, then I'll obviously write the script and all that sort of stuff. Like I don't really, that's my ideal workflow. At the moment, I'm just a bit stretched. Like I'm stretched. So it's just one of those things where it doesn't happen, but that workflow exists in my mind as something that I can do. So, but yeah, I just sit there and I see if there's anything, like a lot of this sort of fear mongering around AI. I find it actually around AI, I find that pretty funny at the moment, which is all these dickheads that are like building their whole business on open AI. And it's like, have you read the terms of service of that thing? It's like and they're creating these like GPTs and stuff where one was a FOIA request, freedom of information request creator, and it automates that process. And it's like, dude, this is liability central. And if you've read the terms of service of OpenAI, good luck. That's going to close in on you, mate. Like, be careful. Do you just, but that's going to happen. Like in the tech business, there's going to be, I think when you've run agencies and various other things, that in the market, there's always going to be those people who take advantage and take a piss, are there for the quick buck. And you're not worried. Like I've always never been worried about that sort of stuff in the market, because at the end of the day, if you're just selling stuff and selling, you're selling that kind of stuff, it's not really anyway, if you're there for a quick buck, it's not really something that is a threat to someone like me, right? So I'm not really worried. Microsoft, boring, bleeping OpenAI confirms DDoS attacks behind ongoing ChatGPT outages. Shock, horror, surprise. Where are we? This is so obviously I look at some more cybersecurity kind of things as well, because sometimes you can see more about what's going on behind the scenes when you're looking at like attacks and security things. Also because it's my job to know these sorts of things. Okay, so obviously with clients and stuff, I need to know, when to go look and check and various other things like that. Cyber Scoop, so defending federal networks. Yep. See how it's like, okay. So this one's interesting. So like the Hamas link app offers window into cyber infrastructure, possible links to Iran. So that's interesting. A lot of the cybersecurity news is actually where some of this stuff comes becomes interesting, because you do see kind of that pipeline thing. You sort of see the back end of the cybersecurity attacks, and then you see sort of people on like Twitter X or whatever sharing this stuff uncritically, and it's like, dude, like, connect the dots. It's just a matter of connecting dots, really. It's just hang on a sec. Whoop. Russian hackers offered phony drone training to exploit WinRAR. Oh, good old WinRAR. WinRAR's in the news. um, but again, it's just a, or CISA, catastrophic. Yeah, so that's, see, there's lots of, cyber ops is really interesting, largely improvised, researchers say. Which is, that's mostly usually the case, is that it's usually fairly ad hoc. So I haven't really talked through the news like this before. I don't know. I'm actually just seeing whether I get frame drops and various other things, and how easy it is to share screens and various other things. All right. So cyber workforce demand is outpacing supply. Well, yeah, naturally. Okay. What do we got? Let's go with Tech Dirt's usually pretty good. I like using Tech Dirt. It's pre-chewed content for me without having to go into too much. That's good. So, see, I just, again, I read quickly. So I skim read things. If there's anything I'm particularly interested in, then I will. Because you can't take everything in, right? Habits of data brokers. Selling the personal data of US military personnel. So this is interesting, but people might not find it interesting, but I do. So here we go, yet again, the 10% of fuckwits rule. So literally 90% of the infrastructure and rules and laws are dealt with the people who ruin the process, who like wreck things, right? So most of the moderation is to deal with spam and scams, and like bad guys. They're so resource intensive. Like psychopaths are very resource intensive people. Let's put it that way. So PC game mods, blah blah blah. No. Yeah, so that might be something that I read later. Maybe put it there. So this is just how I sort my news. Depending on how busy I am, it really obviously nobody can read all of this stuff. Right? Many threads users, okay. Threads users, a perfect Venn diagram. I said this yesterday, between people who still blame their parents for everything and people who are still on threads talking about how much it's better than Twitter. That's a circle. So this is interesting. So look, generative AI aids extremist propaganda. Of course. Oh, that's the AI thing. Sorry, I wasn't. See, so you just got to skim read, and sometimes skim reading is. So experts say terrorist groups are using generative AI to bypass the hashing databases used by tech companies to automatically remove that content. Jesus Christ. Thousands of examples every week. Oh, would you fuck off? I'll go back. I'll clip it for later. See, it's also when I'm doing this, they interrupt my like routine with this shit, and I actually do have a wide. But I'll just. Oops, hang on. So I'm using handoff between the two computers, so I keep going. Hang on a sec. So let's go. So look at it later. Yeah, so I just kind of skim read for things that are can't possibly read everything, right? And also, no, don't. Uh, but over time, you sort of get a sense of what's important for the day. Um, U.S. actors are still. I know the guy who actually did this. Is this the guy who is this the same guy or is this a different case? It is Alexander. Okay, so I'll be covering that one. Um, so this is actually really interesting. So he actually submitted a criminal complaint against Facebook and YouTube, Meta and YouTube, um, facing criminal complaints in Ireland for alleged unlawful surveillance of EU citizens. So he's a privacy expert, and he's actually decided to test that law. I've been following him with this stuff. Mm. Mm. I'll answer that one in a second, actually, because that's a good question. Because I actually started, prototyped, MVP'd a product called Pool Room, right? And this was before AI really sort of took off. This was back in 2013, which was basically, you could create a vault while you were alive for for content and secrets, and it could hold your wills and other stuff, but it also so that you could write to your kids so that they would receive letters, so if you found yourself like dying young or whatever, that you could sort of pre-store things that would be scheduled and pre-scheduled and that sort of stuff and keep you alive, I guess, after your death. And but obviously AI is it's a different beast, because obviously you don't have control over that. So I think that I don't know. I don't think it's healthy. As someone who has actually gone through the grieving process, I think you need to be able to learn to let go. Does that and grieve? And I know that it is difficult and you miss people and it's very hard, but I think a big part of being human is going through that process and learning to let go and learning to accept the circle of life for what it is, because I think that makes you appreciate life more. But I also, again, I've felt that pain when it comes to losing a loved one and wishing they were there and wishing you could talk to them. But I think that on balance, it's probably not healthy. But I thought, yeah. So I actually did quite a lot of work on a similar product, and that wasn't AI driven. And I did actually think when sort of AI started to take off, I did actually think about sort of incorporating that into it. Well, the product didn't get any investment, by the way, because no one how it is. It's anyway. I've thought about it over the years, and I couldn't. I think I'm always thinking about my mistake is that I'm always thinking about the flip side or the downsides, probably too much, more than others who are making these products. A lot of these they're always, one thing I've noticed in tech is that they're too focused on the value and the good part. And a big part of what makes a good entrepreneur is someone who's got blind spots, because they kind of have to filter out negatives and filter out criticism and sort of always be selling the positives of a product and the value. They're not necessarily thinking about the downsides, whereas I think about the downsides too much. So I probably would go, nah. So the answer is, I think that they are a good idea. I think they haven't really thought it through in terms of like governance, in terms of liability, in terms of security. Security is a big one. So when I've made products in the past, it's not been about the product. It's easy to make a Twitter clone. It's easy to make an app, right? It's easy to make a competing social network. Not so easy to lawyer up and pay for a lawyer and have moderation policies and insurance and all of those, and liability insurance and, all of that sort of stuff. So it's like compliance is where it gets you, right? And that's why you need that money and those connections, is because you need lawyers and you need, accountants and all of those sorts of things. So it's like, I mean, obviously people are going to exploit that. I think it's kind of something that's not really a very good idea. I think that you need to work through grief. I think you need to accept loss, and I think that is an intrinsic part of what it means to live. And I think that you appreciate life more if you are, again, I've been there. I know what it's like. There's times when I wish that I could talk to people that aren't here anymore, but You know, it's I just don't think it's healthy. I just don't. I think that this constant um this thing where people just want to exist in an affirming bubble that never criticizes, that only validates, they never experience loss. Like this is like that crazy, this is that weird, what are they called? This is like tech human, this is the oh, there's this thing that they want to synthesize, they use synthetic hormones and stuff. Um, I can't remember. I've got it like, it's basically like this weird ass technocrat cult where they're basically like, well, we can just disappear into a world where we can manipulate our brain chemicals. We can just create these simulated experiences. Everyone lives in utopia. It's like Brave New World shit, right? This digital soma stuff. I don't, I don't think it's just, I don't know. Life is, I don't know. It doesn't feel right. It becomes a, anyway, so let's have a look at this. So this is a guy that I've been following this story actually, and he has put criminal sanctions, a civil complaint to the Irish Data Protection Commission against YouTube's browser interrogation system. So he actually filed, I think he's also argued that the ad blocker thing is illegal, right? So it detects ad blocking software and refuses to play videos unless adverts are allowed or subscription money handed over. The regulators are right now waiting on a reply from Google to provide an update on the status of that claim. Yeah, so they've been sort of, yeah. So anyway, I will just add that one as a reference. I can't remember if I did or not. So I just add that for later. Status captured, and I just put it for later on. So you get an insight into what it's like to, hang on a sec. Oop. I closed it without, hang on a sec, just give me 1 second. Screen share, this is good. I'm using, I like this. This is, oh, there we go. Okay, so this setup works really well. Okay, so look, so this is pretty much how I go through things. Oh, cyber attack after cyber attack, it's fucking crazy. I do like The Verge. Like, The Verge do tend to give some pretty decent stuff. That Obama speech was really interesting. It's very weird to see how people frame or reframe a lot of this stuff, because it's is it possible for a camera to be too fast? Okay. So there's a lot of junk. They're still milking the Obama stuff. Torrent Freak, of course, to look at sort of some of the news around this. Again, just scanning and scanning. That AI pin is creepy as fuck. No thanks. I just love the contrast though. It's like, could a cockroach survive a fall from space? I don't know, maybe. No, yes, I guess. They're light enough. I'm curious now. um yeah, Wired is a mixed bag these days. Oops. And then I kind of go on to advertising, because sometimes I find it really beneficial to look at how other various other my industry, because there was an interesting one I found a couple of weeks ago, which is how SEO consultants are reporting things that are deeply unethical. But they're basically saying, well, here's the exploit for it. Here's the exploit for it. How are we going to exploit this? And so staying on top of how things are going to be exploited is it's good too. So anyway, I'm a little tired today too. I can't, like, I'm actually really like knackered because I've had like still doing full-time like law school, so it's a bit hard. User research strategies for enhanced UX, boring, boring. It's amazing how when you get, I've gone down to sort of UX further down, and so much of UX is no longer about experience. It's actually just about like interaction design and like micro interactions. It's like, wow, how's that for an industry shifting? The search engine land is interesting because they'll always talk about how to exploit these various things. Right? So they're like, oh, look, this thing has changed. They've clamped down on this thing. Here's how to get around it. It's like, okay. So where are we? I'm trying to find an example of it. That Amazon and Meta thing is creepy. I'm going to have a look into that one. Why you shouldn't measure SEO performance by ROI. Uh-huh. No, that's the only thing that you should measure it by. Because otherwise they end up charging you $5,000 to $10,000 a month plus for doing nothing. Okay. So SEO in a multi-platform world. Boring. Okay. Seth Godin. Gosh, remember when Seth Godin was profound? I'll say something and then 3 weeks later, I've got an idea that Seth Godin's stealing from me at the moment. Because he's not. It's pretty funny because I'll just say a thing and then 2 weeks later it'll show up as a blog post. It's like, fuck you. Obviously because I'm UX, it's like I read all that stuff. But the daily news, anything fun? Nah. Trump. Oh no. What's this? Yeah, no one can buy a house right now, even couples. It's weird how they do that. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, and then we get into the fun stuff. If I'm in a bad mood or in a good mood, feel like laughing. If I feel like I've built my, if I'm a fortress of critical thinking, I will have a look at the lunatics. Okay. Especially at the moment, because it's just like, culture wars shit. Boring, boring. Oh, Kat Von D. Haven't seen her around for a while. I wonder how Kat is. I wonder what she's been up to. Oh, I should read the headlines. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, beyond meat. Fearmonger, fearmonger, fearmonger. Oh fuck! Speaking of Taylor Swift, one thing I've been following is the what's his name, Greer, on Kiwi Farms. This guy suing Kiwi Farms for copyright may well win, but he sued Taylor Swift for and Ariana Grande and various other things. It's like yeah. So obviously my Google Scholar stuff comes in here as well. So I've got it set up so that my research papers and stuff go in here. So I'm looking at the V Facebooks. So keeping an eye on various other things. Usually like what's going on in the courts. This is a lot more hard going. I'm so far behind on a lot of this stuff because I've been doing actual law school. But this is why when people go, oh, can you do a thing on that thing? So I can't get through the stuff that I actually do, let alone stuff that I don't know much about. Right? So TikTok. So what's this thing? So there's a writ. All the crazy shit. Yeah, so, mark that. Oh, that's in my email as well, so I'll have a look later. But so all the fun stuff goes into the courts. Yeah, I'm so far behind on that. And that's it. Tech law. There's a couple of things here I have a look at, and then that's it. And then I just kind of scroll through there. Monopoly power is the elephant in the room in the AI debate. I agree 100%. Everyone keeps ignoring that. Like I was saying about the terms of service, everyone's ignoring the fact that OpenAI are very fast working towards becoming a monopoly in this space. And getting that regulatory capture that happens. Regulatory capture, before new and independent actors can even get out of the gate. So that's deeply concerning to me. But if you build your business on OpenAI, you're a fucking idiot, because it means you've learned nothing from like Meta. Okay, you've learned nothing. It's owned by don't use an open model so that you at least own it. And because I swear to God, if your AI fucks up and you're on OpenAI, you're on your own. They will not. Don't build your business on an API like that. It's just insane. Anyway, so in late September, integrate it, but also have an option to bolt on to any other AI platform. Don't ever build your business on top of someone else's business, especially one with it, and make sure that you get legal advice about the worst case scenario if you do, because you have redundancies in place for all of these things. Unless if you're after a quick buck, go for it. If you're just making a thing and you want to make $100 or $100,000 fast, then by all means build a GPT on OpenAI and get in and get out or whatever. But don't put all of your eggs into your dream product, your big dream on top of someone else's just because it's easier or will expedite it. Don't do that, right? That said, I'm not really a good person to give advice in that, because I'm stubborn and I won't do certain things, which is why I don't have $1 billion company and others do. It's because I won't do certain things, and I know what you've got to do to get to that point, and I won't do that. I won't take that leap. So I can build a product, but I just know what you have to compromise in order to do that, and I won't do that. So anyway. So where are we? So what's this one? Yeah, so monopoly power. So Amazon announced strategic crab. Yeah, so basically you've got Anthropic, which is now Amazon have funded Anthropic. You've got Microsoft funding OpenAI. You've got obviously X and X, I would imagine. Let's just put it all into the sort of Tesla, X, Elon Musk ecosystem, which you've got Grok, right? So that's, trained on different on Twitter data and all other things. So there's a new space race again for monopolies, okay, to be forming. So, but whatever, do what you got to do. Okay. But yes, anyway, so you've got all these other, anyway, so that's a whole other thing. I might actually come back to this one. Let's put that back. I'll come back to that. Yeah, infrastructure stuff. Mindaroo. Okay. Can't talk about that one. Okay, so conflicts of interest and stuff like that, right? So again, there's also the other things. I won't talk about certain things, right? But I'm honest about that. Because obviously various relationships and stuff like that. So Google and Meta owe US publishers $14 billion a year. Good. Bankrupt them. See, that's the thing where it gets a little bit. If I have to choose between traditional media and tech, I choose tech. But I'm still critical of tech. It's but I hate media more than I hate Google and Facebook and Google and Meta. They tend to fight the right fights, even if they are accumulating way too much power, right? But that's just right. Okay, so this is pretty much how I do stuff. Is there anything interesting on YouTube? Because I want to actually test to see if the audio goes on too. Oh look, there's this dickhead online. What have we got? Have we got anything? It's very exposing, isn't it? It's very exposing when you look at, it's like, ooh, look at your algorithm. How embarrassing. It's very vulnerable. Lots of low carb shit. Is there anything actually good here? Let's just put something generic.
I'm currently 3,000 feet above the ground with no parachute. But you know what? I don't give a f. Do you care?
Ooh, that frame rate.
Don't care. Every day, hundreds of millions of people suffer from giving too many f. They spend their lives imprisoned by meaningless anxiety and unnecessary concerns.
Yeah,
but it doesn't have to be that way. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 levels of non-giving, each level demonstrating more non-fuckery than the last. You will learn step by step how to face your fears, how to stop worrying what other people think, and how to achieve the eternal bliss of a fuckless life. But it's not enough to simply learn how to not give a fuck. You have to live it. You have to embody your non-fuckery. So to illustrate each of these life lessons, I flew out to Atlanta and met with a fan named Garrett. Now, Garrett had specifically told me that he gave too many fucks in his life. And so I enlisted his best friend Alex, and together we pushed him through 5 life-changing challenges that purged him of all unnecessary fuck giving. In the beginning, he was meek and shy, but by the end, I had him jumping out of planes, asking out models, and of course, dressing like a fucking chicken. So get your beaks ready, motherfuckers. Because class is it! In psychology, there's something known as the spotlight effect. Now, the spotlight effect says that we all tend to assume that people are paying far more attention to us than they actually are. Think back to the last time you got a terrible haircut. Chances are, you walk.
No.
And if they noticed, they sure didn't care. One of my favorite quotes ever comes from the author David Foster Wallace. He said that you will stop worrying so much what other people think about you when you realize how seldom they do. As someone who grew up with a lot of social anxiety, this idea was absolutely profound to me. But the problem is...
All right, so let's try something else. Let's try... Let's try again. Let's try this. Let's try sharing the web environment. How'd that go?
I'm currently 3,000 feet above the ground with no parachute. But you know what?
No.
I don't give a f. Do you care? Don't care.
Okay.
Every day, hundreds of millions of people suffer from giving too many fucks.
That's alright.
They spend their lives imprisoned by meaningless anxiety and unnecessary concerns. But it doesn't have to be that way.
Probably just a settings thing here.
In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 levels of non-giving, each level demonstrating more non-fuckery than the last. You will learn step by step how to face your fears, how to stop worrying what other people think, and how to achieve the eternal bliss
To put the noise gate on the
of a
microphone
fuckless life.
That's
But it's
alright.
not enough
Okay,
to
so I'll turn
simply
it off.
learn how to not give a fuck. You have to live it. You have to embody your non-fuckery. So to illustrate each of...
Yeah, it's alright. Stop sharing your website. Yeah, it's alright. We got it. Anyway, I think I've done enough testing. I will do a proper stream, like, very soon. I just wanted to see how things are working, because I have rearranged everything. But it's set up so that 2 different laptops are actually working, so that's good. But now I've got more natural light, which is good. I've got to change the colors. I gave up. I got to sit and like tinker with like the LUTs and the night style and stuff. I wanted to do a stylistic thing, but it's yeah. Anyway, I might have to reduce the frame rate down, but we'll see how we go. Anyway, I think that's it. I think I'm going to go. I've got some work to do now, but not even sure how long I've been streaming for. About an hour. That's all right. That's enough to test, I think. But I'll be back properly with some actual stuff soon. But yeah, this is just enough to play back, listen to the sound, see how it goes, see how the microphone, works and various other things, and repair that, and all of those sorts of things. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I'm finishing my website, doing all of the things. I'm very tired. As you can see, I'm behind on everything. So that's why I was like, oh, well, I want to at least test the tech and test the sound and test this plate, because I've got the new corner now and it's got like natural light and stuff. So it's like, but, I'll probably be back proper, like midweek ish. Yeah, we'll see how we go. I've also got to fix this vocal fry that seems to have developed recently. But we'll see how we go. I love you. Take care. I hope you're well. I'm not sure whether I should be sticking around or what, but yeah, I think I might have to make it like lower res or something. And seems to be holding up mostly, except for the video thing. But we can wait. I'll figure that out. All right. Take care. Oh yeah, I need this. I need my mouse, don't I? I need to be able to figure it out. Still got to program the touch portal and everything, and the buttons and all those things. So where's my... Okay. All right. Take care. Bye.